Hi there. Well, this is an unscripted video because I'm fantastically capacitated to do this without preparing any kind of script beforehand. But, well, I guess this could be an unboxing of sorts, and I am already messing it up. Alright, see, this thing is a Meteor hammer. A Meteor hammer is a flexible weapon originally from China, so it has close analogs in Japan with a Manrique, which is a double-weighted chain. And you could say that it is basically the same weapon as a rope dart. Rope dart having the only difference that uh, other that rather than having a weight, has a dart. This, of course, is a practice meteor hammer because this is for rubber, but this rubber feels far weightier than I had thought it would. So there's a very real possibility that after doing this video, I'll be brain dead. Okay, so why the hell I'm using a Meteor hammer? Thing is, I've been working on an original fiction with a few martial arts teams, and one of the characters that I am working on, well, let's just say that she didn't quite come into being until I choose what weapon she should use. That came kind of as a flash of insight, and when I chose that she would use a rope dart, again, I'm not practicing with a rope dart until I'm very, very good with this thing. Well, her whole story came into being. Thing is, I have never used a meteor hammer. I have used other kinds of flexible weapons. I'm, let's say, proficient with nunchucks. I trained a little bit with nunchucks and Manriki Kusari when I did ninjutsu. Basically, well, now I'm kind of messing up the note, but well, basically there are some things that I'm rather sure about flexible weapons. Foremost among them is that I will get hit, but I need to understand how this darn thing works before I get to writing this character. Also, I'm a martial arts and weapons nerd, in case any of you still haven't noticed. And this will be my first attempt at using this damn thing without writing myself. Let's start with the very basics. The very basics. This is to secure the rope around my offhand, so it doesn't fly away when I throw it. The slack is what allows me to have the weapon at different lengths. This is a first for me. Um, Other weapons I have used, even the flexible ones, have always been used as a fixed length. Even the Manriki Kusai, in the way I learned it, which was mostly about Hoshoshutsu, so more about hand to hand than really throwing things around. But well, once you have defined the slack you want, the main thing is that the distance between your hand and the ground is longer than the rope dangling from your hand. Why? Because we don't want the rope to hit the ground and lose control of the weapon, and also lose inertia. So, things we have to do. First, we get a grip of the weapon. We got a handle on how the weapon handles. All right. Yeah, much heavier than I expected, frankly. Then we let momentum bleed off, change direction, right? All right, good. So far, not getting any rope burns. Then, this is what is called the wheel plane. The wheel plane is when the weapon is swinging vertically on your main hand. Opposite to the wheel plane is the anchor plane. Anchor in this case being the offhand. So I'm gonna try and transition from one plane to the other without hitting myself in the process. All right, here we go. Yeah, good, good. Then bit of momentum, change direction. Right, okay. Then we come to the ceiling plane. The ceiling plane is when, well, you swing your weapon parallel to the ceiling, or in this case, the still darkening sky. And then is the wall plane. Wall plane, in this case, being when the weapon swings right in front of me. I'm not doing this as smoothly as I should. Whoop. And first hit on the thigh. Well, at last it was the thigh and not slightly upward. Oh, nope. Mhm. Well, all right. Okay. In any weapon that you might learn or want to practice with, the first and foremost thing is to get a kinetic sense of the weapon. Ideally, you want that adage of feeling like it is an extension of yourself. That is rather straightforward to do with a sword because, after all, it is a mostly rigid length of steel. You can develop tactile sensations with a sword so that you feel when it is touching something or when it is touched by something. You can feel force, you can feel intent, you can feel direction, you can feel a lot of things. In this case, I'm only feeling the direction of the meteor hammer. I know the position of the ball because of the way the rope tugs at my hand. I know with how much strength it's going because of the strength that it's tugging at my hand with. And sometimes closing your eyes helps, and sometimes it's a recipe for disaster, and it's almost like this was scripted, but I swear to you, it wasn't. Also, it only mildly grazed my genitalia, so it is likely I will still have reproductive function at some point in the future. Okay, so this darn thing is coming off. All right, then the planes are more or less straightforward and somewhat easy to work with. Now and this darn thing is coming off yet again. Now I'm trying to draw a figure 8. All right, this is far easier to do with a bladed stance, in which I reduce my profile to offer less of a viable target to an opponent. But also, in the case of a fencer, the bladed stance increases your reach dramatically. Why? Well, because you do things like this. Oh, that was very poorly aimed. But well, okay, let's see. Right? So, the meteor hammer. Historically, there are some more or less unreliable records of it being used in cavalry forces. It was not a weapon to use information because, of course, it isn't when you can so easily hit anyone around you, but it was mostly used to entangle an opponent's horse legs. It would be more like a bola or whatever it's called in English. We call it boleadora. Mm, When it transitioned to civilian use, both the meteor hammer and the rope dart were used also as a performance weapon. What does this mean? It means that mostly like we have people who do juggling at traffic stops, they had people who went from village to village and put on shows doing acrobatics with something. What's the difference between acrobatics and a straightforward weapon use? Well, as you can see, I'm having the time of my life trying not to kill myself. A straightforward weapon use is something like this, where you swing the hammer as a bludgeoning weapon. If you do a sweeping to strike, you are able to entangle an opponent. If you instead do a throwing strike, most useful with a rope dart than with a meteor hammer, obviously, you will mostly attack as if it was a spear or a throwing knife. That was incredibly off target. So I'm gonna try with less slack on my main hand. Yeah, better, much better. All right, you could also do it with an overhand throw, but I'm not precisely good with throwing weapons because that was a part of my ninjutsu curriculum that we skipped. Uh, yeah, shameful, I know. Nope, nope, nope. All right, here comes something interesting. You see how the rope wound around my arm? That's a recovery. It might seem like I did it without meaning to and as an improvisation, and that's because that's what I did. But the main idea is what I learned in Jiu-Jitsu, that when you're using a flexible weapon, more important than how you hit, it's how you recover control of the weapon after you have hit. See, when you're spinning around, the inertia is predictable. I know this is gonna keep moving in a circle so long as I don't mess up and do something stupid like this. What I don't know is what is gonna happen when this hits the ground. In this case, it was easy because it mostly let off almost all of its inertia and I could safely pull it back. But say I'm aiming for a sweeping strike and I miss. What can I do to recover from this very ample wide motion that I'm getting increasingly scared by? Okay, so the thing is, whoop, that. The thing is that. Sorry about that. Yeah, still going? Okay. Well, let's say I'm once again swinging dangerously and living as if I have the spare money to buy a new phone. Right. I do the sweeping strike. What I'm gonna do is let it coil around myself. Yes, I hit myself in the nuts. Yes, again, that's the third time this video. But the thing is, in letting the weapon wrap up around myself, I'm having it bleed off momentum and go back to a position that I can safely recover from. This, in the case of the Meteor Hammer and the Rogue Dart, also has some interesting applications that cannot be performed with any shorter flexible weapon or with a more rigid one like an nunchuck. For instance, one cool move I saw was letting the rope wrap around the elbow to momentarily shorten the reach of the weapon This messes up with the opponent's sense of distance, which is what we always want to do, mess with the opponent in whatever way whatsoever. And then an elbow shot. And I did it poorly, terrible, but well, first try, it's what matters. So, one more elbow shot. This is gonna require a lot of practice. A lot of practice and a lot more stamina than I currently have because I'm sorely out of shape. Okay, well, that was it. My first try with a Meteor hammer. My first recorded nut shot in the whole wide world. And I hope you enjoyed it. More the Meteor hammer than the nut shot, but I know what humor is like, so I'll forgive you it's either ways. Thanks for watching.